I am so excited today because today is Delivering Miracles episode number 100. Thank you so much for joining me here through the last 100 episodes. Thank you for sharing the episodes with your loved ones, your friends, your family, your colleagues, your providers. And thank you for the opportunity for allowing me to be on your journey as you build your family. I know it's not easy, and I know how alone it can feel and how scary it can feel, and I'm just so honored to be on your journey, walking alongside you as you go to wherever your path will lead you. For the 100th episode, we're heading back to basics. Today's episode is all about how this all began, how the podcast began, how my work, my private practice, my business began, and it really goes back to a very special day at the very end of my pregnancy. I hope you enjoy this episode. Delivering Miracles is a proud member of Parents on Demand, a network of high-quality shows for families like yours and mine. Download the free network app on any Apple and Android devices and listen to your favorite episodes on the go. Hello and welcome to Delivering Miracles, a podcast to give moms like you strategies and tips to have a safer pregnancy so you can bring home a healthy baby. I'm your host and your high-risk pregnancy expert, Parijat Deshpande. Hi, welcome to Delivering Miracles. I'm Parijat Deshpande, your high-risk pregnancy expert, and I'm so excited to be here with you guys today. Dealing with a high-risk pregnancy makes you feel so scared and so alone and so out of control. And I'm here to tell you that you can get back in control of your pregnancy. The reality is no one's talking about this. Everybody talks about the beautiful, blissful, happy, wonderful, perfect pregnancy, but that's not the reality for so many women like you and me. And maybe the reason is we're afraid to talk about it, or maybe your loved ones are afraid to talk about it or don't want to talk about it. But I know that you feel scared and I know you want to talk about it, so let's have this conversation. Now, I know what you're thinking. What makes me the expert? Who am I? How can I help you get through a high-risk pregnancy? Well, I'm a clinically trained therapist and a women's wellness expert. But after going through my very own high-risk pregnancy, and with everything that I experienced and how out of control I felt, I knew that once I got through this, I needed to make it my mission to make sure no more women go through it alone and feel helpless as they're fighting for their baby. And so that's how I'm here with you today. You can get back in control of your pregnancy. When I was pregnant, the first 22 weeks of my pregnancy were really, really awful. They were so complicated and there were so many ups and downs. It literally felt like every time we got some good news, it always came with some bad news. And it was so emotionally exhausting. I spent 16 weeks on bed rest at home, and I was just depleted already. But it was on September 27th when everything changed. I was 22 weeks into my pregnancy, and I'd already been on bed rest for 16 weeks. And it was evening, so my husband and I were sitting on the sofa and we were watching a TV show because that's all we could do together. It was kind of the only time that we had together, the only things that we could do at the same time because I was on bed rest and activity rest and I couldn't do anything. So we'd gotten really into TV at that point. And I think it was maybe Once Upon a Time or something. Is that show even running still? I don't even know. But I think we were watching something and it was over. We were getting ready for bed. I went into the bedroom to get ready for bed and something felt really wrong. My belly had been cramping for a little bit, and I went to the bathroom and I saw blood, and I just knew something was wrong. So I called the doctor, and they put me through to the on-call doctor, and she sounded really chipper and really kind of, oh, it's okay, everything will be okay. And I kept trying to tell her, no, have you seen my history? Have you seen my chart? It's really thick and I'm only 22 weeks pregnant. Something's not right. There was just this voice kind of in the back of my head going, You need to take care of this. You need to take care of this. You need to get attention. And she just kind of said, well, why don't you just rest tonight? It'll be okay. Go see your doctor in the morning and we'll handle it then. But I knew that my body was trying to tell me something. This voice wasn't the voice of alarms and bells and, oh my God, what's happening? It was this voice of very calm but firm. Almost like, when your mom, when you were younger, is like really serious trying to get you to listen to whatever she's trying to tell you. Like, you really need to go clean your room right now. And you go, oh my God, yeah, I need to do that. That's kind of the voice that it was. And it was telling me, go to the hospital. Now, even though this doctor told me not to, I looked my husband in the eye as soon as I hung up the phone. I said, we're going to the hospital. Something's not right. I thought that this might be, I was hoping at least that this would be like every other time we rushed to the hospital, thinking, okay, well, maybe this is just a really bad scare and we'll get there and everything will be okay and they'll send us home. But again, in my body, something in me was kind of going, I don't know, this doesn't feel the same. I got to the hospital and they settled me in, and that same doctor came in to check me. And there was still a part of me that was hoping, all right, tell me that I'm wrong, send me home. And then I saw the look in her eyes. She looked really worried. That kind of lightness to her, that breeziness that she was talking with earlier was completely gone. And she looked at me and she told me, you're 3 centimeters dilated. And I completely froze. My heart stopped. I mean, this was the first pregnancy I had made it that far, so I didn't really know exactly how things went. My only information that I got about pregnancy at this point had been from friends and from TV shows, which is not completely reliable information, let me tell you. But I did know 3 centimeters is what happens towards the end of your pregnancy. And I was only 22 weeks and 4 days. How can this be happening? Time completely stood still, and I don't even remember breathing. But what I did know is that if my body felt any tension or any stress, I knew that the pregnancy could end. And so it became my mission in that instant. I needed to release everything. I wasn't going to hold on to anything. No anxiety, no worries, no fears, no what ifs, all that had been plaguing me for the last 22 weeks, done. I needed to turn into a bubble and I need to protect my baby, and this is the way that I was going to do it. I didn't sleep at all that night, as you can imagine. Neither did my husband. But I did ask him to put on some music for me as a way to keep my body calm. And it really helped. The next day, my OB came in. I'll never forget this moment. She was so wonderful. And up until this point, she'd gotten to know us so well because I was basically living at her office and my perinatologist's office. She came in and she sat down at the edge of my bed. And she held my hand, and I saw tears coming down on her face because she thought it was over. She thought that this was the end. And after everything that we had been through, I was going to lose this baby because it was just too soon to be this far along in the preterm, in the labor process. But the thing was that I had always had an image of bringing him home. Since we found out that the pregnancy was going really crazy, which had been going for a few weeks now, but I'd always had this image, I can still picture it, of us coming home with a little baby in an infant carrier, or coming up the stairs in the house, and I just knew in my bones that I was going to bring him home. And so I knew that even though she was losing hope, and she was losing hope so much that she was crying in front of me, that I had to go back to that image. I needed to really focus on that message that I'd held on to for so many weeks so far, because I knew that's what was going to help me keep going, because we have gotten into really scary times now. What we thought was scary before was nothing compared to this, and I knew I needed that to anchor me into my hope. The thing was that I actually made it through the whole weekend. And I didn't deliver the baby like everybody thought I would. And so that next week was, oh my God, yay, we made it. It's Monday. Let's celebrate. And so they sent me over to Mother Baby. And I spent a few hours there. I spent about a day there because they thought, okay, maybe I was out of the woods. Not so much that I could go home, but I didn't have to be in labor and delivery anymore. And so we spent the next 24 hours just killing time, trying to make it another day, another day, another day. So again, we turned to our good friend TV and movies, and I had my family come, and my best friend was visiting. And one afternoon, the next afternoon, my friend was sitting next to me. We were just chatting. I don't even know about what, but just anything to keep my mind off of what was going on. I was lying in bed, white sheets all over me because I was freezing, because why do they keep hospitals so cold? I don't understand. Covered in blankets, trying to get comfortable in Trendelenburg, which is the position with my feet above my head. And I leaned over to her and I whispered to her, I think my water broke. I had felt this gush. And I'd never experienced that before, but that had to be it. I was 23 weeks and 2 days pregnant. It was too soon. The nurses just rushed into the room. It went from this peaceful room to chaos. They rushed me down the hall back to L&D. I remember just lying frozen on that bed, staring up at the ceiling tiles, watching them go by me. The tears were just burning my face, but I wasn't sobbing. I couldn't even feel myself crying because all I could think about was, how could I have been so wrong? That image of him coming home, of me and my husband and that little infant carrier walking up. How could I have been so wrong about that? That felt so real to me. I didn't want to deliver him that day and have to hold him and watch him slip away because he was born too soon. They pulled me into the room, the same room that I had been in before, and there were like 1,000,000 people in there and really bright lights, and it just felt like chaos. And there was a pressure to make a decision. What are we going to do if the baby comes now? There was an option that we could send him to the NICU, but we had heard about all the statistics, and 23 weeks and 2 days, it's not looking good for that baby. But we had to decide, do we want to do that? Do we want to do comfort care? The neonatologist was asking, the nurses were asking, and then my perinatologist came in. And she looked at me and she said very calmly, I've seen women stay pregnant for months after their water breaks. And it was like somebody had injected air back into my lungs, and I took this, oh my God, there's hope that I can still stay pregnant? I had no idea. I thought it was over. I thought it was over so much that I'd stopped breathing and I was hyperventilating, and the nurse was trying to get me to breathe slower. And to hear that, it was, whoa, there's still hope. So my husband had run into the room. He rushed back from work. He was kneeling next to my bed. He was holding my hand so tight I could see his knuckles were white. I've never seen him look so scared in my life. And he looks me straight in the eye and he goes, what do you want to do? And I looked at him back and I said, we're going to save this baby. I want as much time with him as possible. Give me the magnesium. Now, I'll be honest, for those of you who have been on magnesium or know what I'm talking about, that is an awful drug. I apologize for the train that's coming by. We live right by a train track. So magnesium, it's awful. It's a torture drug, I like to call it. I was hallucinating on it. My body felt like I was submerged in the Arctic Ocean, while my face felt like it was set on fire. It was really that bad. But I knew that I was determined to stay pregnant for as long as possible. And I knew that magnesium was only one way that that was going to be possible. A very important way, but it was only one way. So I told my family to tell me jokes when I got bad news or when I was feeling anxious. We celebrated every single hour that came by and that we passed through. And I asked them all to decorate my room with really positive messages. So they drew pictures and they wrote little notes for me and for the baby. So anywhere that I looked, there was always some kind of positive message coming back at me. Because I was so determined that I will not let stress and tension that's in my body be the reason why he comes early. I was so focused on what's happening right now. Clearly, I had no idea what was going to happen 5 seconds from now. All I had was this moment, and that's where I stayed. But I got to be honest with you, it was exhausting. Physically, emotionally, the bed was lumpy. There was so much uncertainty. I remember there were moments when I just cried because I was so desperate for something to get better. When I had those moments where I was like, how am I going to get through even one more day? But of course, there's no other option. And so I did. Because there was a little voice in the back of my head going, listen to your body. You've been right so far. Keep doing it. That strength is in you. You can do this. We made it through almost a week. It was 24 weeks and 3 days. It was a Wednesday. And it was one of the few moments that I had by myself in my room. I think whoever was on duty to watch me in my family had probably stepped out. And I noticed that the sun was coming in through the window, and I hadn't been outside in so long. I didn't know, but they were telling me it was actually an unseasonably hot couple of weeks. For almost 2 weeks, I had, my belly was very small. I was only 24 weeks along. So it was covered in 2 monitors that basically spanned the entire length, the size of my belly. But I found a little spot where I could put my hand and feel my son doing his gymnastics in there. And I remember saying to him out loud that day, if we survive this and we get to go home and be a family, I have to change my career. And I have to come back and support women who are having to fight for their babies like this. I have to do it. 2 days later, he was born at 24 weeks and 5 days. And it began the next chapter of our lives, him fighting for his life while we did everything we could to support him in the NICU. We're so lucky that he came home to us the day after his due date, and that was about 3.5 years ago. And we are just so grateful every single day of our lives that we get to have this life with him. He beat the odds doing everything most people thought he would never do. And that's how I'm here with you today. Because I followed through on that promise to him 3.5 years ago, 4 years ago, that when we get to be a family, I'm going to help women who are going through this. I can't stand the fact that women are having to fight for their babies during an experience that so few people understand without the support and guidance of somebody who knows exactly what they're going through. So I'm here to tell you from experience that you can get back in control of your pregnancy. And I'm going to tell you right now how you can start. There are a lot of things that you can do to protect you and your baby during a high-risk pregnancy. But here I want to share with you today my top 3 things that I know for sure helped me and helped my son and gave us the life that we have today. The first is to listen to your body. The second is to visualize. And the third is to focus on what is, not what if. Now I'm going to go into all of those and break those down for you so you know exactly what I mean and you know exactly what you can do as soon as you're done listening to this podcast. The first is to listen to your body. So if you remember when I was 22 weeks and 4 days along and I called my OB and I said, hey, something's not right. And she goes, meh, it's okay. Come in tomorrow. There was that voice in my head saying, listen, right? Pay attention. That is something that I really like to impress upon all of my clients that I work with. There is a voice inside of you. You can call it mother's instinct, mother's gut, your intuition, whatever you want to call it. But there is a voice in you, which is your body talking to you, telling you what it needs and what you need to do about it. It's just our job to listen and pay attention to that. Now, that voice does not sound like alarms and bells and whistles and emergency. It doesn't sound like that. That's anxiety. What it does sound like is almost like a newscaster who's giving the news to you. It's matter of fact, it's quiet, and it's direct. It's telling you something is wrong. It's the reason why, when you see like a car accident or some kind of emergency and you wonder, how is it that somebody is so level-headed and able to figure out what to do to help other people or to help themselves? It's because they're listening to this voice and not their anxiety. So if you have a voice in your head that's going, alarms, 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 emergency, emergency, that's not your gut. That's your anxiety. But if you've got a voice that's telling you, once you've quieted that anxiety down, you've got this voice going, nope, something's not right. Go to the hospital, call the doctor, lie down. And it's telling you that very directly, very directly and very straightforwardly. You want to listen because that's your body telling you what it needs. The second is to visualize. This is one of my favorites. I still use this as a way to cope with any kind of anxiety or stressors or worries, and it really helped me through my pregnancy. So I'm going to walk you through one of my favorite exercises. Wherever you are, get comfortable. If you're lying down on bed rest, totally fine. If you're able to sit up, then sit. Get comfortable, put your feet on the ground, relax your hands. Now I want you to close your eyes. And take a couple deep breaths in to just relax your body and get ready for this exercise. Once you feel relaxed, I want you to imagine a place that you find to be very peaceful. It can be a place that you visited already. It can be a place that you will visit or hope to visit someday, or it can even be a made-up place. Take a look around at what's around you, and I want you to use all of your 5 senses to really take in the peace and the beauty of this place. So start with your eyes. What do you see? Now look around and notice, what do you hear? What do you smell if you took a deep breath in? If you were to put out your hand, what would you touch? What do you taste in your mouth as you're embracing this place? Take it all in. And when you're ready, open your eyes. This is one of my favorite visualizations to do because it literally gives you a mental vacation. You can't hand off your belly to your partner and say, I'm going to go take a walk around the block. I'll be back. As much as I know you would want to, I know I did for sure. So it's really hard to take a break from the constant worry and the stress. And so one way to do that is to really immerse yourself emotionally, visually, in a completely different space. And then you notice how your body feels. Your body really reacts to when you use all of your senses. So this is a really wonderful exercise to use anytime, anywhere. If you're in the doctor's waiting room, you're feeling anxious. If you're in the hospital, you're waiting for the doctor to come in, or if you're at home alone and you can't sleep at night, this is a really wonderful one to try. Now, so we've talked about listening to your body. We've talked about visualizing. The third is to focus on what is and not what if. Now, I know personally that when you have a high-risk pregnancy and you don't know what's going to happen to your baby, you kind of turn into the Tasmanian devil of what ifs. Like your brain is just thinking of everything that could possibly go wrong, right? But you want to do whatever you can to bring yourself back into the present because you don't know what's going to happen next. And neither does your doctor. And I know you would do anything if somebody could give you a crystal ball to tell you. And I wish I could do the same for you too. But since we can't, you want to stay in the present moment and enjoy every single moment, no matter how long you have with your baby. Best way to do that? Put your hand on your belly and just notice what your baby's doing. Even if you can't feel your baby's movements yet, imagine what your baby might be doing and really stay focused in the present. So we went over 3 things that I know for sure helped me and my son have the life that we have today, that I used all the time during my pregnancy and that I know are going to be helpful for you. Listening to your body, visualizing, and focusing on what is and not what if. Now, I'm going to go through these in even more detail in upcoming podcasts, and I'm going to even go over additional exercises that you can try related to this and other tips that I have for you to have a healthier pregnancy. So definitely stay tuned for those. And if you want to know more about any of these exercises, or if you want to know more about how you specifically can have a healthier pregnancy, feel free to schedule an appointment with me through my website at parijatdeshpande.com. Thank you so much for allowing me to share my story with you, for being here with me for the last almost half an hour, and I really look forward to chatting with you next time. I know this is a scary time, but you can get back in control of your pregnancy. Start by taking it one day, 1 hour at a time. You can do this.